Hey guys, been getting a lot of requests about some different CD reviews the past few weeks, and I figured I'd try and combine them all into one little video. I don't know how much I'll have to say about each one individually, so I figured it might just be beneficial to just throw it all into one. So, first one I want to talk about is the new Paramore album, After Laughter. And some of you may or may not know that I've been a pretty good fan of Paramore for quite some time, and the last album just didn't really do it for me. I really tried to get into it, but it just didn't have the same appeal to me that Brand New Eyes and some of the other ones did. So while I was, interested at the beginning, it quickly died out. So that was 4 years ago. That was 2013 that came out. And since then, I had kind of forgotten about Paramore. I didn't even listen to some of their old stuff for quite some time. And when I heard that a new album was coming out, I wasn't really super excited about it, but I was curious about it because the last album was such a curveball that I had a feeling that this one was going to be a bit different too. And it certainly was another curveball. It really was, but it was in such a way that it managed to hit a lot of things that I already just really liked. And over the past few years, I've really gotten to see how much I love that sort of 80s pop and that synthy, new wave sort of stuff from the 80s. And it's just so obvious how much of that played into this new album, which some people like, some people don't. I personally love it. I think it suits them well. I think. It's certainly not the Paramore that came out 10 years ago, and why would it be? No band is going to sound the way that they did 10 years ago, and when they try, they usually fail. So I'm really happy that they're trying some new stuff. I think it's cool that they got the old drummer back in the band, but I'm not necessarily surprised that it doesn't automatically make them sound like the way they used to. I know some people are disappointed because they thought that getting their old drummer back would actually make them sound like they did when he was in the band years ago, which is kind of stupid because it's not like he's a main songwriter or anything. Or maybe he is, I don't know. But I don't know, it's cool he's back. I really did like what Elon had done on the last album, drum-wise, but it is what it is. He was more of a studio, like a session drummer at the time anyway. That being said, I didn't really think the drums were anything spectacular on this album, but they suited the songs well, and I had no problem with them really. But then again, I'm not a drummer. The guitars overall weren't really anything that special. There were some cool little things here and there, but they definitely did not take a main focus like a lot of some of the old songs did. A lot of that synthesizer keyboard sort of melodies were definitely in the forefront, and that's okay with me. I really like that sort of stuff. I've been big on bands like Hall & Oates and Tears for Fears, stuff like that for a while now, so I'm totally cool with it. Haley sounds as good as she always has. I don't really find any songs to be annoying, as far as just the way that she's singing. She definitely sounded kind of annoying on some of her songs from the last album that, I wouldn't say cringy, but they just, I don't know, just her vocal delivery on some songs can be a little weird sometimes. But, I really liked her performance on this album. The lyrics are definitely sad. If you're an emotional person, it might trigger you a little bit. I'm not, so it's not a big deal. I usually don't focus on lyrics all that much. I usually just look for a good, upbeat, interesting, melodic song. That's really what I'm interested in, and that's all over this album. I really like the album front to back. The only song I really don't care for is I think it's called No Friend. It was like the second to last track, and it was sung by someone in another band, I can't quite remember who it was, I'm sure somebody will mention it in the comments, but I don't know, I just didn't really think that fit. It was just kind of a weird juxtaposition in a way, it just didn't really make sense to me all that much. And you could barely hear what the guy's singing or saying the whole song. It's very low, like his vocals are not in the forefront at all, so it's kind of hard to hear what he's saying anyway. So anyway, general thoughts on this album: I think it's really good. I really didn't expect to like it as much as I did, and I think I'm going to be liking it for a long time. I don't think it's going to be one of those things where the replay value runs out. I mean, I've already listened to the thing, at least a dozen times, maybe more, and I'm not sick of it yet. So, very good album. It's definitely not the old Paramore, but I think it's worth checking out if you haven't yet. Next album I want to talk about is the new New Found Glory album, Makes Me Sick. And this came out about a month ago. I really did not care to check it out just because ever since Steve left, not that Steve was like my favorite member or anything, but when Steve left, something just kind of changed in the band, and that whole last album just didn't click for me. And I don't know how it happened, but that was like one of their biggest albums ever. I don't get it. I really didn't get it, and I kind of just wrote the band off. I was like, you know what, if the next album sounds like this, I'm pretty much calling it a day for New Found Glory, and so be it. I'll still have the old albums like Sticks and Stones and the self-titled album to listen to. So a lot of people were asking my opinions on the new stuff. I really just didn't care to check it out for a while. Like I said, it came out late April, I believe, and it being early June now, it was maybe like 5 or 6 weeks ago. And I had heard the first single. The first single I thought was okay. It wasn't that bad. It certainly was better than some of the stuff on Resurrection. And then I had listened to the second single, I think one time, and I was like, all right, this one's not bad either. But none of them were really grabbing me, and they weren't really getting me excited to listen to the whole album. So I finally took some time to check it out. I actually bought the album, and it's not bad. I really gotta say, I don't think it's that bad. It's surprising in some spots. I really was not expecting as much synthesizer on this album as there was. But like I said on my Paramore review, I'm all for it. As long as it's not completely changing the band entirely, I'm totally cool with that, even though that was kind of the case with Paramore, but they kind of pulled it off. I think in New Found Glory's case, it just kind of added more to the songs, added another element, and added more of a 3D feel to those songs, which is something not always easily achieved. And so I was pleasantly surprised by the amount of synthesizer in there. There was one song that straight up sounds like Hawaiian music, and I was definitely thrown off the first time I listened to it, but I think they do a decent job at it. I don't think I don't necessarily want them to do that all the time, but I thought it was cool. I thought it was a neat little thing, and it definitely played to the theme of the album a little bit. So I thought it was cool. I wouldn't be surprised if some people didn't like it. A lot of people don't like change, but whatever. One big thing I did not like about Resurrection that I thought was definitely changed with this one is with Resurrection, I felt like there were too many lyrics. There were too many words for not enough space, not enough music. And there was a lot of spots on Resurrection where I felt like Jordan was just kind of pushing too many words out, and he was trying to cram too many words into certain spaces, and I couldn't fucking stand that. I really just did not like it, and I really did not see that here. I really liked some of his delivery on these songs. I thought that he had a lot of great vocal melodies and a lot of good lines that he performed. So I was not at all annoyed or displeased with what he did on this album. I thought the bass sounded really good. I thought there was a lot of great sounding bass, and I thought it took more of like a main stage, or like a, you know, it took more of a forefront in this album than some of the past albums, which I thought was really cool because, you know, he's a great bass player, and I think he deserves to have a little bit of a spotlight every now and then. I do like that Chad kind of changed it up a little bit. Another big thing I did not like about Resurrection was some of those riffs that he wrote. I just felt like they were garbage. If I had written them, and say I'd written, you know, 20 riffs or something, some of those would have just been thrown in the garbage, and I would have been like, you know, this just isn't good enough. It wasn't pleasing to my ear, and as a guitar player, it just didn't work for me. I didn't like it. But on this album, you know, a lot of it's very simple, but, you know, I thought it worked. You know, it made me feel like I was listening to an older New Found Glory album, and I was totally cool with that. And I can't remember how present it was on Resurrection, but I really liked the little guitar solos that he did on some of these songs. It made me feel like I was listening to like Catalyst again and Sticks and Stones in that aspect, because he, even if they were, you know, simple, you know, they were cool for, you know, for a guitar player's point of view. You know, I really like that. It makes songs just that little bit more fun to play and a little bit more fun to listen to. So overall, I don't think it's an amazing album. I really don't. But I like it a lot more than Resurrection, and it definitely got me interested in New Found Glory again. It's definitely getting its fair amount of time in my car stereo, so, you know, I'm definitely happy with it, and I think it's worth checking out. I think it's worth giving a chance, because there's a lot of people out there that are just straight up writing it off and they just don't like it. So, you know, you got to be open-minded. You got to obviously know that bands are going to change, and they're going to, you know, go here and there, and, you know, everything's going to fluctuate a little bit. So, you know, maybe their next album I won't like that one. I don't know, but, you know, I thought this one was all right. So, I'm cool with it. Finally, I want to talk about the new Blink-182 songs. Now, I'm not going to go into crazy specifics about Blink-182's new music, but I'm just going to give my general reaction to some of the new stuff and just my overall opinion on Blink-182 now that Matt is in the band. Granted, you know, he's been in the band for, you know, over a year now, and I was very optimistic about it when it first came out, when California, the original version, came out. I was very optimistic. I did my full guitar cover of the whole album, and, you know, I was checking out all the videos and whatever, but, you know, nothing really grabbed me like, say, Dogs Eating Dogs did. You know, I thought that was a solid EP. I really liked that. And even, you know, compared to Neighborhoods, I thought Neighborhoods was a way better album. It was just a more exciting album. This album, California and California Deluxe, I feel like it just lacks excitement. It lacks creativity, and it just lacks a soul to me. You know, it's obvious how big of a part Tom DeLonge played in that band, because as soon as he left, the songs all became one-dimensional, and it was obvious that Matt was not going to be the one to save them, because, you know, Matt's got Alkaline Trio, and I love Alkaline Trio, as you can tell. And that being said, he has Dan in that band, and Dan is a great songwriter. I love Dan's songs and the parts that Dan plays in Alkaline Trio. So he's got another guy that he can lean on too to make his songs better. And that was how Tom and Mark were in this band. And I don't know, when I finally caved and I finally listened to the new California Deluxe songs, I just felt exactly the same way that I did with California. I felt like there's nothing exciting about it. There's just no real excitement for me. You know, the songs, yeah, they're upbeat, they're poppy, but they don't they don't sound the way that they used to, and part of that definitely has to do with the production. I don't think the production is very good at all. God, I miss some of the old guys that they worked with so much. Jerry Finn and some of the other guys. I'm blanking on their names, but they definitely played a huge part in how good Blink-182 sounded back in the day. So it's tough to listen to, and not only that. I mean, some of you may or may not know. I went and dealt with some copyright issues the past few months with Blink-182's videos. Basically, as soon as California Deluxe was announced, they had come out with a new song. I forget what it even was. I think it might have been I don't know. It's not important. But as soon as they announced it, they had somebody on their team. Maybe not Blink-182 had it, but somebody on their management team, somebody that owned part of their rights, went on YouTube and just flagged one of my videos, and it was just taken down immediately. They said, nope, we don't want this on YouTube. And this was actually the What If Tom DeLonge wrote Bored to Death. And the reason I wrote that whole the whole guitar lines for that song and a bunch of the other songs is because I felt it was necessary in making the songs more exciting. It made it more interesting to me as a longtime Blink fan. And, I had hundreds of thousands of views on those videos, easily the most viewed videos I've ever had. And people are still asking me where those videos are today because they really liked them. And so I got that first copyright strike. I'm like, all right, fantastic. I don't want to lose my channel for like the fourth time. I've put a lot of effort into this channel, and I did not want to lose it, especially when I had a new album coming out in just a couple weeks. I wanted to be able to show it off and have people to show it off too. So I made all the videos private, anything involving Blink-182 California, and I thought the problem was solved. And then a couple days later, another one of my videos from that was flagged, or it was already flagged, but it was just taken down. And that was What If Bored to Death had a guitar solo. And so obviously that person had also filed a complaint on that video, and it just hadn't been approved yet until after I had made everything private. So I just deleted all of them. I still have them on my computer, but I deleted all the videos, and it was very disheartening. It made me very bitter towards Blink-182. Not them personally, but just the whole new corporation bullshit that they're a part of now. And it just doesn't feel like three guys playing in a band anymore. It just feels like they're just a fucking radio band now. They're not anything special to me anymore. And I don't know. It really just doesn't work for me anymore. That being said, getting back to the songs, I did notice that Matt. I noticed that Matt had some definite songs that were obvious that he wrote. If you listen to the original version of California, you could tell Mark wrote 99% of that stuff, if not 100%. That's all him, and you can tell. But there's definitely a lot of Matt's influence on California Deluxe. I don't remember exactly which ones, but you can definitely tell. So that's interesting. It's at least something different, because almost every song on California, it sounded exactly the same, and then Mark sang the first verse, they both sang the chorus, then Matt sang the second verse, and they both sang the chorus. It was the same shit every single song, and I'm like, you know what, fuck this. I just didn't want to deal with it anymore. I took it off of my computer, I took it off of my iPod, all that shit. I just didn't want to hear it anymore. And that being said, I don't think these songs are any better. I really don't. I mean, people are like, oh man, you gotta at least listen to Wildfire. You gotta listen to Wildfire. And I did, and it is just such a fucking joke. It's a joke. Because you listen to that song, and you can tell that he's purposely trying to sound like Tom in some spots, but he's doing such a piss poor job at it. and then it just jumps all over the place. That song, like, there's like a soft part, and then it goes really fast, and then it slows down again, and it's really fast, but it just doesn't feel cohesive to me. It doesn't sound like one song. It's just jumping all over the place, and the riffs are just... No, it doesn't cut it for me. I mean, I'd rather listen to Neighborhoods any day, as disconjointed as that... Is that even a word? As just fucking screwed up as that album was, and how obvious there was just distance on that album between everybody. You know, I'd still rather listen to that because it's 10 times more exciting than this album is. I don't know if you can hear that. Somebody's playing outside. So anyway, just I know this Blink-182 section of the video has kind of gotten a little out of hand, but you know, I felt like it was necessary to kind of tell you guys everything. So yeah, I'm not at all impressed with the new Blink stuff. It just sounds like the same crap. I don't know. It just doesn't do it for me anymore. You know, and while I'm here, you know, I've gotten a lot of people asking me about Tom DeLonge's supposed Boxcar Racer rumors. A lot of people have been asking about this, so I might as well give my 2 cents now. First things first, people are saying that he may be making another actual Boxcar Racer album, and then there's people saying that he just wants the new Angels and Airways album to have a lot of Boxcar Racer influence. And those are two pretty different things. I mean, I don't think he should make another Boxcar Racer album, even though that was totally his pet project. You know, that was all him. He wrote everything. He did the bass. You know, he only had Travis on there just as a drummer. He didn't have him as like a songwriter or anything. He's just like, you know, I need a drummer. I don't want to pay a session drummer to do anything. Can you do it? So, that being said, when I think of Boxcar Racer, I just think of that being Tom's headspace from like 2001 to 2002. That's what I think of. When you add another album into that, it just kind of makes it a little wishy-washy to me, and it makes it less genuine to me. That being said, when bands say that they're going to sound like they used to, it's usually full of shit. I mean, look at Sum 41 after Dave had left, and they said that their next album was going to sound like All Killer No Filler, and that was like, I don't remember which album it was. It was like Underclass Hero. They said it was going to sound like that, and it was like one of the worst albums they ever did. And I don't know. I never ever play into that shit, and I always let the albums speak for themselves when they come out. So I don't know. I'm very interested in what Tom's doing in the future, because, you know, at least his stuff is exciting to me. Like, I loved Dreamwalker. I thought that was a great album. I still listen to it all the time. I'm not super focused on all of his new projects, but, you know, I definitely check his music out when it comes out. So it'll be interesting when it actually drops. But I don't like to make any direct comparisons of music to anything else. You know, I just think of it as a new thing, and maybe I like it, maybe I won't. So if he's saying that he's finding some inspiration from the Boxcar Racer times, you know, it being the 15th anniversary a little while ago, and he's going to try and, you know, maybe make a spin on that and bring some of that like heavier, darker sound to these songs, and I'm all for that. But to say that he's actually going to come out with the next Boxcar Racer album, I think that's a little far-fetched, and I think it remains to be seen. So I don't know. I'm holding my judgment on that. I'm not going to hold my breath, and I'm certainly not going to get super excited about it just to get possibly let down later. So I don't know. That's about all I have to talk about this time around. If you have any other questions or anything yet you want me to talk about, you know, on video or whatever, feel free to let me know. As you guys can tell, I've kind of slowed down my videos on YouTube. You know, I've just got other things I have to focus on these days. You know, I'm certainly not 15 like I used to be and could crank out 2 videos a day or whatever. So hopefully you liked the video. Hopefully my camera is actually still rolling right now, because if it's not, I'm going to be sad. But yeah, I'll catch you guys later. And like I said, if you got any other suggestions, feel free to leave them below. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys later.